All right, Act 2, Scene 2. This is one of the most famous scenes in Romeo and Juliet. It's the one that you kind of see pictures of. We'll get to this little gif in just a second. But here we are, Scene 2. Remember, Mercutio was just teasing Romeo about being in love with Rosaline, and that's kind of where we are. Romeo has jumped over the fence into the Capulet orchard, and so he's actually kind of creeping around out there, which is why I have my little gif right there, because he is kind of, not, well, he, again, breaking and entering, right? So he's kind of creeping around in her orchard. A little creepy. All right, so Romeo, talking about Mercutio, he says, he jests at scars that never felt a wound, meaning Mercutio is teasing me about love, but it's because he's never felt it, he's never experienced it. So he's laughing at me, but he just doesn't get it. Now, Juliet appears above at a window. What is really, really important to understand here is that Juliet appears above at a window. She is not aware that Romeo is creeping around outside. Okay, so when she is talking, when she does any movement, she has no idea that Romeo is creeping around in her garden. Okay, so Romeo, when he's talking, okay, he does not have an audience here. He is speaking aloud his own thoughts. So what do you call an extended speech where he's speaking aloud his thoughts to no audience? This is a soliloquy, okay? So that's what we have here. He says, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Okay, so the light that he sees, it's beautiful. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. It's important to understand, he just called Juliet the sun, because she's so full of light and she's beautiful. It says, kill the envious moon. Remember that Diana, Roman goddess, or Artemis, her Greek equivalent, is the goddess of the moon, but also of chastity. Okay, of virginity. So kill the envious moon. So essentially what Romeo is talking about here is encouraging Juliet to give up her virginity, okay? Because, again, the moon is sick and pale with grief that thou, her maid, Juliet, being someone who is assumed to be a virgin, art far more fair than she. Again, be not her maid, he says, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Remember how the problem with Rosaline? The problem with Rosaline was she vowed to be celibate her entire life. So this is something that Romeo is well acquainted with, this idea of a woman wanting to remain a virgin. And so he's like, none but fools do wear that. Cast it off. It is my lady, oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. That's kind of his problem, right? Does Juliet necessarily know how much Romeo is in love with her at this point? Probably not. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. No, I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Okay, so here Romeo is debating whether or not he should make his presence known or not. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. He compares Juliet's eyes to bright stars. He says those can't possibly be her eyes. It must be that the stars, there are two stars that have traded places with her eyes because they are that beautiful and that, shining and vibrant. What if her eyes were there and they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars. So, moving on from eyes to her cheek, would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. Meaning she is really, she's really glowing, okay? See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. Okay, Romeo's really smitten here. He literally wants to be her hand so that he could be in such close proximity to her that he could touch her face. Juliet, again, unaware that Romeo is even down there, she says, "Hi, me." Romeo, she speaks. O speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night, being over my head, as is a winged messenger of heaven, unto the white upturned wondering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him, when he bestrides the lazy pacing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air. Juliet. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Okay, before we move on, I have got to make this very clear. The word wherefore does not mean where. She is not asking, where are you, Romeo? Remember, she is not even aware that he's creeping around in her garden. Okay, so she's not searching for him amidst her garden. She is not asking where. She's asking, why are you a Romeo? Okay, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but the rest of the passage is going to help us out. So when she says, oh, Romeo, Romeo, she's saying, why must you be Romeo? Okay, why must you be Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Notice, what is her problem? Her problem is with the name. Okay, why would her problem be with the name Romeo? Because what's his last name? Montague, right? Let's keep going. So, O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Meaning, why must you be Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. Okay, so she knows that this problem between them, that she's a Capulet and he's a Montague, that is a huge issue. And so she recognizes that. She knows that either he's got to give up his name and betray his family, or she's got to give up her name and betray her family. Romeo aside. Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this? So I think Romeo's in an interesting situation because he is hearing her talk about him, but she doesn't know that he's right there. Okay, so it's like he's overhearing something that he really shouldn't be overhearing. Juliet. 'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. Meaning, even if you were not a Montague, okay, it is you that I'm into, not your name. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Yeah, that's a really famous line there. It's this idea that, like, look, a rose is a rose, even if we were to call it a piece of garbage, right? So the name Montague is a piece of garbage, but Romeo is still a rose, right? So Romeo is the person that she feels very strongly for. It is just his name that's the problem. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Again, she is into Romeo, not necessarily his name. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name which is no part of thee, take all myself. Okay, so Romeo, get rid of your name, and, which I don't care so much about that name, but take all of me, meaning she is really into Romeo too. And remember, who's listening? Romeo. So she says, take all myself, and Romeo's like, I take thee at thy word. Meaning, yeah, sure, man, sure, girl, I'll take you. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth, I will never be Romeo. When you were baptized, you received your Christian name. Okay, so what he's saying here is that, hey, look, if you're in love with me and you have a problem with my name, then you know what? I'm going to get baptized again. I'll call myself something different. Henceforth, I never will be Romeo. Okay? I take thee at thy word. She says, take all of me. He's like, okay. So he has now officially stepped forward. He's no longer creeping in the bushes. Juliet, what man art thou that thus bescreened in night so stumblest on my counsel? Okay, so this took her by surprise. Romeo, by a name I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word. Okay, I love this part because she's like, who is that out there who's creeping in my garden? And he says, well, I don't really know how to answer you because you hate my name. I don't want to tell you that I'm Romeo when you just told me that you hate my name. Juliet, my ears have not yet drunk 100 words of that tongue's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague? Romeo, neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike. Juliet, How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? Remember, wherefore means why. Why are you here? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here. Romeo, with love's light wings did I overperch these walls, meaning I flew over because love gave me the wings that I needed to get over the walls. For stony limits cannot hold love out, and what love can do that dares love attempt. Therefore, thy kinsmen are no let to me. I mean, I'm not concerned about the consequences here. Juliet, if they do see thee, they will murder thee. Romeo, alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity. I love this. There lies more peril in thine eye, meaning, what is he more concerned with here? Juliet's family or Juliet herself and her approval? Juliet, right? So he doesn't care whether he gets killed for this. He is more concerned about winning over the approval of Juliet. Juliet, I would not for the world they saw thee here. Just so you know, the word would means wish. Okay, so if you see the phrase I would not, it means I wish not. Okay, she doesn't want him to get caught. Romeo, I have night's cloak to hide me from their sight, but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued wanting of thy love. Meaning, you know what, I'd rather have a swift and easy death by your family members than me having to suffer through life without you. Juliet, by whose direction foundst thou out this place? Romeo, by love, who first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him my eyes. So Juliet asks, like, how did you even know where to find me? And Romeo's like, oh, well, that's the power of love. I am no pilot, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with the farthest sea, I would adventure for such merchandise. Meaning, it doesn't matter where you are, Juliet. I would be willing to risk a difficult journey and to travel a very great distance for you and to find you. Juliet, thou knowest the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek. For that which thou hast heard me speak tonight, fain I would dwell on form, fain deny what I have spoke. But farewell, compliment. Okay, she's just saying that it's kind of embarrassing because I was just kind of talking about how much I love you and you just heard it all. But that's not really the proper way to do things, right? I would normally follow convention by acting shy and coy and kind of being like, oh, like hard to get. But she says, farewell etiquette, too late now, right? She says, dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swearest, thou mayest prove false. At lovers' perjuries, then say Jove laughs. Jove is the king of the gods. Meaning he laughs when we lie to one another, especially when we swear our love, because we almost don't know what it means, right? O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou thinkest I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt too, but else not for the world. Okay, so she says, look, you stumbled upon me speaking my thoughts aloud, and that's kind of awkward. And she says, if you think that I am too quickly won, meaning if you think I'm a little too easy here, if I'm not enough of a challenge for you, if I'm, if I didn't play hard enough to get, then she says, then I'll pretend like I don't feel the way that I feel. So thou wilt woo, meaning so that you can do what you're supposed to do as the man in the situation. But else not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond. And therefore thou mayest think my behavior light, meaning don't think I'm not taking this seriously just because it's happening so fast. But trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove more true than those that have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess, but that thou overheardest, ere I was aware, remember that's before I was aware of this, my true love's passion. Therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to light love, which the dark night hath so discovered. Again, she doesn't want him to mistake this for, not genuine love. Okay, she doesn't want him to think that she's being silly and immodest, right? Like that her love isn't real. Romeo, lady, by yonder blessed moon, I swear that tips with silver all these fruit tree tops. Fruit tree tops. Juliet, oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon, that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable. Okay, so she says, don't swear by the moon because it's too inconstant. Think about how the moon goes through cycles, okay? And so she's saying, you can't swear your love by something that changes so often. Romeo, what shall I swear by? Juliet, do not swear at all. Or, if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, meaning himself, which is the God of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee. Okay, so Juliet's kind of all in pretty quickly, too. We thought Romeo was kind of all in too quickly, and Juliet's like, you're the God of my idolatry. The only thing that I would trust is if you swear by your gracious self. Romeo, if my heart's dear love. Juliet, well, do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract tonight. See why. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning, which doth cease to be ere one can say it lightens. Okay, notice Juliet is kind of the smart one in this situation, saying this might be happening a little too quickly here. Sweet good night, this bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. She's like, look, we're going really fast. Maybe we should slow things down. And as we slow things down, it will go from a bud of love to a beauteous flower. I mean, we need to give it the right amount of time to mature. Good night, as sweet repose and rest come to thy heart as that within my breast. Romeo, oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied? Juliet, what satisfaction canst thou have tonight? Okay, when he says unsatisfied, I don't think he's talking about sex, but that's what Juliet is assuming. Like, whoa, what are you expecting, dude? What satisfaction canst thou have tonight? Romeo, the exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine. So it was fairly innocent what he wanted. Juliet, well, I gave thee mine before thou didst request it. Mine, by the way, would be a vow of love. And yet I would it were to give again. Remember that means wish. Okay. Romeo, wouldst thou withdraw it? She just said, I wish it were to give again, meaning I wish I could take it back so that I could give again. And Romeo says, wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love? Juliet, well, but to be frank and give it thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. So again, she says, I just want to be able to give it to you again, so I would only take back my initial vow of love so that I could give it again. The nurse calls within, Juliet, I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu. Anon, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little. I will come again. She's like, hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. She exits above. Romeo, oh, blessed night. I am afeared, meaning I'm almost afraid. Being in night, all this is but a dream, too flattering sweet to be substantial. Okay, so Romeo is now going, this has got to be too good to be true, right? I must be dreaming at this point. Juliet re-enters above. 3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honorable, okay, so if your intention is honorable, and thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite. Whoa, okay, so remember how Juliet was like, I'm afraid this is a little too soon for us to, start proclaiming our love. Now she comes back and she's like, hey, if you're really serious about this, send me word tomorrow and I will come to thee where and what time we can get married. Okay, so she went from, this is probably too fast to, hey, let's get married tomorrow. And all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world. The nurse from within, Madam! Juliet, I come anon, but if thou meanest not well, I do beseech thee. Nurse within, Madam! Juliet, by and by I come. To cease thy suit and leave me to my grief. Tomorrow will I send. Okay, so remember she had just said, if you don't mean well, then please just let this go and leave me alone to my grief. Romeo, so thrive my soul. Juliet, 1,000 times good night. And she exits above. Romeo, 1,000 times the worse to want thy light. Love goes toward love as schoolboys from their books, but love from love toward school with heavy looks. Let's look at that real quick. So when a lover goes towards their love, they go in the same way, in the same attitude as school children away from their books, right? So you guys can imagine how great it feels to go home after school or to go rest or do something fun after school. And that's the way that a lover would approach a love. But a love from love, meaning when I have to part from my lover, towards school with heavy looks, right? Think about in the morning when it's, 7 o'clock in the morning and you're thinking about going to school. It's not quite as fun. Okay, so he retires, and so they've parted ways. But wait a minute, re-enter Juliet above, and I'm reminded of like that whole, no, I love you more, no, I love you more, or no, you hang up, no, you hang up. They can't seem to really actually end their conversation here. Juliet says, Romeo, oh, for a falconer's voice to lure this tassel gentle back again. She's wishing that Romeo were kind of like a trained bird, like a hunting bird, the ones that like kind of go upon, you hold upon the forearm. Okay, she's like, I wish I could like get you to come back whenever I need you to. Bondage is hoarse and may not speak aloud, meaning, look, I've got some restrictions on me that make it hard for me to communicate with you. Else would I tear the cave where Echo lies. You guys remember Echo from Greek mythology, who was unable to win the love of Narcissus, so she wasted away in a cave, doomed only to repeat others, and make her airy tongue more hoarse than mine with repetition of my Romeo's name. Romeo, it is my soul that calls upon my name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears. Juliet, Romeo. Romeo, my dear? Juliet, at what o'clock tomorrow shall I send to thee? Romeo, at the hour of 9. Juliet, I will not fail. 'Tis 20 years till then. I have forgot why I did call thee back. Romeo, let me stand here till thou remember it. Juliet, I shall forget to have thee still stand there, remembering how I love thy company. She says, well, if you're just going to stand there all night because I'm forgetful, maybe I should be more forgetful to have you stand there. Romeo, and I'll still stay to have thee still forgetting any other home but this. Juliet, 'tis almost morning. I would have thee gone, and yet no further than a wanton's bird, who lets it hop a little from her hand, like a poor prisoner in his twisted givvies. Okay, she says, I wish I could just hold you in my hand like a little child would like play with a bird in her hand and not let it like jump out of her hand. So she's like, I wish I could just play with you that way. And with a silk thread plucks it back again, so loving, jealous of his liberty. Romeo, I would I were thy bird, meaning, remember, I wish I were thy bird. Okay, like he's like, that sounds good. Over here, Juliet, sweet, so would I, yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow. She exits above, and Romeo says, sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly father's cell, his help to crave and my dear hap to tell. Okay, remember what he's supposed to do. Juliet says, look, if your love is honorable, if you have good intentions here in your love, then you're supposed to arrange the marriage for us. So where is he going? Hence will I go to my father's cell. That's his spiritual father's cell. He's essentially going to go find a priest. In this play, we call him the friar. His help, the help he requires would be wedding arrangements, and I've got to tell him my dear hap, or my good fortune. And that concludes Act 2, Scene 2.